So just to timestamp this, we're recording this on Thursday the 22nd, so this story might have moved on by the time it comes out tomorrow night, but it's the hearing for Julian Assange at the moment, which is, he's could be extradited as quickly as next week if this goes against him, which I won't speculate too much, but it's probably going to. But it ties into the deeper conversation about Trump and the opportunity he had to pardon Assange and to pardon Snowden and others, and steady pardon a load of gangsters. What do you think this is about with Assange? Do you think he's just going to get extradited and they're just going to continue to make an example of him as they have done for years, or do you think there's more to it?
Well, I did see a story this morning that they're talking about if letting him serve his sentence in Australia. I didn't hear that, but I read it this morning. And the thing about Assange is he has been used as a see what happens when you take us on. I think there were things in the release that could have been done better, the WikiLeaks release. But what they did was show that the authorities in the United States and the West in general were lying to us on a monumental scale. I mean, anyone who's researched it knew that, but the general public wouldn't.
Yep.
And the cavalier way they were just killing people in Iraq and places like that. And so he is a kind of a monument to the consequences of releasing what we don't want released. So that's, how many people that maybe would have gone down that road have thought, well, I've seen what's happened to Assange.
Yep.
And again, it's so blatant. They couldn't get it initially, so what they did, some woman came along and said he did this, he did that, and then that led him into the embassy in London, the embassy that kept him, Ecuadorian embassy kept him for a long time, and that was based on him being extradited to Sweden, face those charges that she had alleged.
Yeah.
And the idea that once he got to Sweden, they would extradite him to America.
Of course, yeah.
And so he was being stitched up from very, very early on. And it's gone on and it's gone on. And he seems to be in a terrible
health condition
now, yeah. So this is psychological and physical abuse of a human being by the state, both the British state and the American state, as a warning to others of what happens if you take us on. We don't know, obviously, what the outcome's going to be. We've got a bloody good idea what it's likely to be.
Yeah.
Which takes us into two areas. One, that Trump could have ended this in the last days of his presidency when he had the ability to pardon people. And he pardoned a bunch of crooks, including his son-in-law's father, a close friend of Benjamin Netanyahu, instead. And so, the man who supposed to be representative of the people and freedom and all that, had the opportunity there to really make a statement.
Yeah, he did.
But you see, this is the point. With people like Trump and these other heroes of the alternative media, the right-wing alternative media, they'll talk a lot and they'll say all the right things, but when it comes to crucial things in the agenda, they won't cross that line.
No.
Like, he wouldn't cross the line to pardon Assange. And when the COVID thing broke, the COVID card was played, he claimed credit for the fake vaccine, which has caused death and devastation of health to so many people. And he claims it was him, but it wasn't. Operation Warp Speed was a military operation. The military were responsible for the rollout of the vaccines, not the pharmaceutical companies. They were just fronting it up.
Yeah.
It was the military. And so they won't cross that line where they can really damage the agenda. And the other thing about the Assange situation is, people need to appreciate, and I think more and more are, that the judiciary is completely staged up.
Completely corrupt, yeah.
That doesn't mean that every judge and every person in the legal profession is corrupt. It's not the case. What it means is you control, for instance, who is appointed to hear a certain case.
Yeah.
So if there's a case and you absolutely want a particular outcome, then you will appoint to that safe people who will give you that outcome. And that's why, up to this point, we don't know what the outcome eventually is going to be for sure. But right along this Assange case, the judiciary have just doffed their cap to the state, not least the American state.
Yeah.
And so have home secretaries who had the ability to put an end to this and didn't. Because people, I think, more and more are beginning to realize that there is a force in the background, in the shadows, that's orchestrating these things. That people like the type of judiciary I'm talking about and the type of home secretary and politician I'm talking about are bloody terrified of.
Yeah.
And will not go against it.
No.
And it's something that intimidates those that appear to be in power, so that they will give the right decisions. And I can't say I'm confident that this appeal is going to win. And because of all that, I mean, please God, it does. But I know from my own experience in the Netherlands. When I was banned from the Netherlands, and as a result, 27, soon 29 European countries, that the judiciary is absolutely corrupt.
Completely, yeah.
It is only doing what the state tells it to do, not even the political state, although that on one level, but the intelligence level of the state. Is dictating the decisions it makes. Not justice, not fairness, not evidence. What that level of the deep state wants, the judiciary give to them. And so we shouldn't have confidence in the judiciary.
No.
When I see, to this commission, which we don't want to find real answers, we are appointing this basically, acclaimed high court judge, highly respected high court judge. And what happens? The result, the verdict, is exactly what the state wants. So, I don't care how esteemed a judge you are. I don't care what you silly bloody thing you put on your head and what your fancy dress you're wearing is. I don't care about any of that. I care about whether you are making decisions based on the evidence and on the basis of justice and not on what the state wants. And that in key cases, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Or if it does, very rarely.
Would it shock you, not to speculate too much, but would it shock you if, given Trump had the chance to pardon him at the end and he didn't, and he's obviously, because of the way he handled COVID, lost a lot of the people that supported him the first time. If Assange gets extradited next week, Trump wins the presidency and he comes back in, if he was to then pardon Assange at the start, or towards the start of his presidency, would that be a way that he could get that room he lost back to an extent, which would buy him 4 years again?
Possibly. That's all these scenarios. All these scenarios are possible, but what suits the cult to happen, people like Trump will proclaim it's their decision and look, I'm standing for freedom.
Yeah.
But if it's something the cult does not want to happen, they will not go against it. Because Donald Trump is swimming in the swamp just as furiously as those he opposes. It's a game, it's vaudeville. And a lot of it is not callable because you've really got to know, all right, with things like human-caused climate change, you can see that that's being used as a hoax, an excuse to transform society. You can see that cause and effect. But in the more subtle areas of the cult agenda, unless you know exactly what their game is, it's not so easy to call. Because the one thing that these people are brilliant at, ridiculous as they are, is manipulating perception. And if you are manipulating perception all the time with things that anyone with a brain can see why you're doing it, then it's not as effective. But if you can get people to think, I can see why they're doing this, when actually they're doing it for a completely different reason. And of course, you've got the example recently of the Putin interview. It seems that that's bad for the deep state, or he's exposing the real, background to Ukraine. But actually, there were other reasons why that was very, very beneficial to the cult.
There's always two reasons why they do it, isn't there? The reason that they portray and then the real one
exactly
behind.